Not every motorcycle holds its value. Some drop like a rock, taking your wallet with them. From outdated cruisers to overpriced sport tourers, these are 20 bikes you'll regret buying. Stay tuned until number 1, because it's the most brutal value collapse in modern motorcycle history. Number 20. Suzuki GSX 250R. At first glance, the GSX 250R looks like the perfect entry-level sport bike. Low stance, full fairings, and a sharp silhouette that mimics bigger machines. But underneath the surface, this motorcycle fails to deliver. It produces 24 horsepower from a 248 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine with 17 pound-feet of torque. The starting price lands around $4,999, which makes it appealing until you actually ride it. The problem is simple. The GSX 250R is both underpowered and overweight. Tipping the scales at over 390 pounds, it weighs nearly as much as a middleweight sport bike while offering barely half the performance. Riders report sluggish acceleration, a soft suspension, and limited high-speed confidence. The 6-speed transmission struggles on the highway, and the lack of modern features like a digital display or standard anti-lock braking system on early models makes it feel a generation behind. This is a motorcycle that loses its charm quickly. Many new riders outgrow it within months, only to find that resale value is weak and buyer interest even weaker. It looks the part, but it never delivers on the promise. The next bike on this list proves that even trusted names can get it wrong. Number 19. Honda Shadow Phantom. Some motorcycles remain timeless through thoughtful evolution. The Shadow Phantom is not one of them. It delivers 44 horsepower from a 745 cubic centimeters V-twin engine, producing 47 pound-feet of torque. With a starting price near $7,999, it once held appeal as a sleek, blacked-out cruiser for new riders. But in 2025, it feels like a relic. The Phantom hasn't seen a real update since 2010. It still uses a basic 5-speed transmission, no traction control, and lacks standard anti-lock braking on early models. There is no digital display, no ride modes, and the analog gauges feel more like an afterthought than a design choice. Even comfort is questionable. Riders report a stiff suspension and ergonomics that feel cramped on longer trips. On the used market, it is common to see low-mileage examples listed for under $4,000 with few takers. The Shadow Phantom may still carry Honda's reputation for reliability, but that alone isn't enough in a market filled with modern, feature-rich competitors. But at least it looks cool. This next one looks like it fell out of a design meeting with a hangover. Seen one of these sitting unsold at a dealer? Smash like and drop a comment if any of these bikes still tempt you, or if you've owned one yourself. Number 18. Honda NM4 Voltus. Every now and then, a manufacturer swings for the fences and misses entirely. The NM4 Voltus is one of those swings. It makes 54 horsepower from a 645 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine with 44 pound-feet of torque. The starting price approached $10,999, placing it well above other middleweight commuters. Its styling was inspired by anime and futuristic films with a low-slung seat, extended front end, and enclosed bodywork that baffled traditional riders. While it featured Honda's automatic dual-clutch transmission, making it easy to ride, the overall experience felt clumsy. The weight, stretched-out ergonomics, and limited cornering clearance made it unsuitable for spirited riding or urban commuting. Storage was minimal, pillion comfort was non-existent, and highway performance was underwhelming. Riders looking for functionality found little here, and those who bought into the Voltus for its uniqueness quickly realized they had invested in a conversation piece, not a practical motorcycle. Today, resale values are poor and parts availability is limited. Even within Honda's loyal community, this machine is treated more like a curiosity than a collectible. From strange to sluggish, the next bike pretends it's built for the future until you try riding it today. Too many people waste cash chasing bad bikes and even worse gear. If you want reliable riding upgrades that won't leave you disappointed, check out my hand-picked recommendations in the description. Number 17. Zero S electric motorcycles were once seen as the future, and the Zero S helped lead that charge. But in 2025, it is falling behind quickly. It produces approximately 59 horsepower from its electric motor, delivering 78 pound-feet of torque. Pricing for a new model hovered around $10,995, not including optional fast-charging hardware. Despite its early promise, the Zero S now suffers from limited real-world range, less than 90 miles under mixed riding conditions. Charging without the fast charger takes hours, making it impractical for daily commuters or touring riders. Compared to newer electric competitors, its performance is modest, and the battery technology now feels dated. The motorcycle's quiet ride and low maintenance might appeal to some, but riders quickly discover that battery degradation and costly replacement loom just beyond the warranty. And when resale values struggle to stay above $8,000 for nearly new units, it becomes clear this bike hasn't held its ground. The Zero S proved that being first doesn't guarantee lasting success. Speaking of power, you'd think the next one would deliver until it eats your wallet alive. Number 16. Ducati Monster 937. Few bikes arrived with as much hype as the Monster 937. On paper, it promised a new era for Ducati's most iconic naked machine. It delivers 111 horsepower from a 937 cubic centimeters L-twin engine with 69 pound-feet of torque. The starting price is around $12,195. While the performance is respectable, ownership has proven anything but smooth. Maintenance costs are steep, with valve inspections required every 7,500 miles and service pricing that quickly climbs. Electronic gremlins have been widely reported. Riders mention inconsistent quick shifter behavior, glitchy displays, and low-speed throttle twitchiness that makes commuting uncomfortable. Even more telling is the used market, where barely ridden Monster 937s are selling for under $9,000. Forum threads are full of frustrated owners either dumping their bikes or warning others to stay away. The name still carries weight, but the execution missed the mark, and riders are no longer willing to pay a premium for what has become a stressful ride. But Ducati's not the only brand getting burned. This next bike is literally flooding used markets. Number 15. Indian Scout 60. When the Scout 60 launched, it looked like the perfect gateway into the Indian brand. It offers 78 horsepower from a 999 cubic centimeters V-twin engine, producing 65 pound-feet of torque. With a starting price near $11,000, it seemed competitive against middleweight cruisers. But cracks began to show quickly. There are no ride modes, no cornering assistance, and no modern display system. Just basic instrumentation and old-school ergonomics. Riders complain of rough, low-speed fueling, high heat output, and long-term comfort issues. While the styling is classic, the ride experience is underwhelming compared to bikes like the Rebel 1100 or the Yamaha Bolt. Where the Scout 60 really fails is in resale. Riders who paid full price are often forced to sell for under $5,000, even with tasteful modifications and low miles. Adding to the frustration is the dealership network, which can be sparse in rural areas. Many independent mechanics avoid working on it, meaning service costs remain high. It promised affordability and American heritage. What it delivered was depreciation and frustration. And now for a bike that costs more in insurance than it's worth on the street. Number 14. Harley Davidson Sportster S. This was supposed to be the future of Harley Davidson's middleweight lineup, a reinvention aimed at younger riders. But the Sportster S quickly stumbled. It produces 121 horsepower from a 1,252 cubic centimeters Revolution Max engine with 94 pound-feet of torque. The starting price comes in at $15,499. While the numbers are strong, the riding experience is polarizing. The seating position forces an awkward crouch, making long rides uncomfortable. The suspension is harsh. Cornering feels stiff, and the minimalist design sacrifices comfort for aesthetics. For older Harley loyalists, it strays too far from tradition. For newer riders, it costs too much for a bike that can't decide what it wants to be. The digital display and rider modes seem impressive until you compare them to competitors at lower prices with better ergonomics and everyday usability. The used market reflects this confusion. Barely used, Sportster S models are listed for under $12,000, and some have already changed hands multiple times. It is fast, futuristic, and ultimately flawed. But that's nothing compared to a cruiser that looks tough and handles like a tax write-off. Number 13. Suzuki Boulevard M109R. For a while, the M109 was Suzuki's answer to American muscle cruisers. Bold styling, brute power, and undeniable presence. But in 2025, it feels stuck in time. It produces 128 horsepower from a 1,783 cubic centimeters V-twin engine with 118 pound-feet of torque. Starting price hovered around $15,000, but that number means little today. The M109R never evolved. There are no rider modes, no anti-lock braking system standard on older models, and the digital instrumentation feels clunky and dated. The fuel gauge has been criticized for inaccuracy, and the massive rear tire sacrifices handling for looks. Riders report that low-speed maneuvering is difficult and highway cruising feels heavy and unrefined. Fuel economy sits near 30 miles per gallon, which, combined with a limited tank range, makes long-distance use frustrating. Insurance is high, parts are not cheap, and the resale market is saturated. Used models often sit for months at prices below $8,000. This was once a statement bike. Now it is just heavy, outdated, and hard to move. But what if a brand new bike left you stranded on day one? This next one might. Number 12. BMW G310 GS. This was BMW's attempt to bring its legendary adventure lineup to a budget-friendly audience, but the G310 GS has struggled to meet expectations. It produces 34 horsepower from a 313 cubic centimeters single-cylinder engine, delivering 21 pound-feet of torque. Its starting price is around $6,195. Though styled like a proper adventure motorcycle, the G310 GS lacks the refinement associated with the GS name. Owners report build quality issues from day one. Fragile plastics, uneven panel gaps, electrical faults, and loose hardware have all been noted. The engine buzzes at highway speeds, overtaking power is limited, and comfort suffers on longer rides. Suspension travel and ground clearance suggest off-road potential, but riders say it is too lightly built for serious trails. Meanwhile, it underperforms on the road compared to similarly priced alternatives. Parts availability and reliability also suffer due to outsourced production and spotty dealer support. Despite the BMW badge, the G310 GS doesn't live up to the legacy. Instead, it often sits on showroom floors or used listings, overlooked in favor of better-equipped competitors. At least BMW still has service centers. The next brand can't even keep its company afloat. Number 11. Buell 1190 RX. Few motorcycles carried as much hope and crashed as quickly as this ambitious American superbike. It produces 185 horsepower from an 1,192 cubic centimeters V-twin engine, delivering 101 pound-feet of torque. When it launched, pricing hovered near $17,000, aiming squarely at high-end European rivals. Despite its aggressive specs, the 1190 RX never stood a chance. The brand folded shortly after release, leaving owners stranded with no factory support, no dealer network, and virtually no aftermarket backing. Mechanics charge a premium, if they'll work on it at all, and spare parts are increasingly difficult to find. Even loyal enthusiasts admit it's more stress than thrill. Performance is intense but unforgiving. The tall seat height, sharp throttle response, and aggressive ergonomics make it ill-suited for anything outside a racetrack, and with its polarizing design, even collectors hesitate. Listings today sit below $7,000, often with low mileage and long wait times for a buyer. It may have roared on paper, but in the real world, it faded fast. From a failed comeback to a legacy that overstayed its welcome, this next legend turned into a liability. Number 10. Yamaha VMAX. What was once a road-burning icon has become one of the most impractical cruisers on the used market. Underneath its massive frame, it produces 174 horsepower from a 1,679 cubic centimeters V4 engine with 113 pound-feet of torque. Originally priced above $17,999, it once ruled the straightaways. Unfortunately, modern riders demand more than brute power. The VMAX struggles with fuel economy, barely reaching 30 miles per gallon. It offers no traction control, no ride modes, and no advanced rider aids. It's loud, heavy, and runs hot, turning city rides into chores and longer trips into endurance tests. Insurance premiums are high, parts are aging out of circulation, and its resale market is slow. While some appreciate its sheer force, the the majority find it outdated and uncomfortable for anything beyond drag-style bursts. Clean models now sit unsold for under $9,000, with owners reluctant to admit how quickly it aged out. It had muscle but no evolution. If the V-Max was a dinosaur, this next bike is a fossil with handlebars. Number 9. BMW R18. In an attempt to crack the cruiser segment, this heavyweight rolled onto showroom floors, dripping with chrome and old-school ambition. It generates 91 horsepower from an 1,802 cubic centimeters boxer twin engine with 116 pound-feet of torque. Retail pricing started at over $17,995. The idea was bold. Mix BMW's engineering precision with retro American style. The result was a 900-pound machine that proved tough to live with. Owners report clunky low-speed handling, discomfort in traffic, and a seating position that wears you down quickly. On paper, it checks boxes. On pavement, it checks out. Technology is minimal. A small display, basic electronic assistance, and a sparse list of creature comforts for the price. Riders looking for performance or touring capability found it lacking, while cruiser purists never took it seriously. Used models now sit with deep markdowns, some not even fetching $10,000 with under 5,000 miles. It may look like rolling art, but it performs like garage decor. But what if your expensive sport touring bike turned into a garage ornament? Number 8. KTM 1290 Super Duke GT. This motorcycle was engineered to dominate both long distances and tight corners, but the real-world experience has been far less inspiring. It produces 175 horsepower from a 1,290 cubic centimeters V-twin engine with 103 pound-feet of torque. When new, the price hovered around $19,000, placing it firmly in premium territory. On paper, it had it all: semi-active suspension, advanced rider aids, and top-tier touring comfort. But in practice, owners quickly discovered a range of problems. Faulty fuel sensors, dashboard glitches, and random warning lights turned many rides into troubleshooting sessions. Forums are filled with stories of electrical gremlins that KTM service centers struggle to resolve. Maintenance costs are steep thanks to specialized parts and complex electronics. Even basic service like valve checks and coolant flushes come with premium price tags. To make matters worse, resale values have collapsed. Models just a few years old now list under $10,000, with many still sitting unsold. The 1290 GT may have been fast, but it left riders far behind in satisfaction. At least KTM has character. The next bike is just boring. Number 7. Kawasaki Vulcan S. When introduced, this midsize cruiser won over new riders with its low seat, neutral handling, and friendly ergonomics. It makes 61 horsepower from a 649 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine with 46 pound-feet of torque. The starting price lands near $7,899. Unfortunately, very little has changed since it launched nearly a decade ago. The Vulcan S still lacks modern amenities. There are no ride modes, no cornering assistance, and no full-color display. The analog gauge cluster feels dated, and the suspension provides little in the way of comfort over rough roads. Stylistically, it falls into a gray zone between cruiser and standard. It never committed fully to either category, leaving it with an identity that feels generic. While the adjustable ergonomics were once a selling point, newer competitors now offer more performance, more features, and a clearer purpose. Used listings often show up under $4,000, and many sit for months without interest. The Vulcan S isn't terrible, it's just been left behind. Some bikes fade from memory, others were never memorable to begin with. Number 6. Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. Designed to compete in the growing bobber segment, this motorcycle initially drew praise for its minimalist look and classic stance. It produces 53 horsepower from a 942 cubic centimeters air-cooled V-twin engine with 65 pound-feet of torque. The starting price sits around $8,899. But the Bolt R-Spec has barely evolved since it launched more than a decade ago. Riders are still met with a single front disc brake, basic rear shocks that struggle under real-world loads, and no traction control or ride mode. Even something as simple as a modern digital display is missing. What once felt refreshingly simple now feels lazy. Competing cruisers in the same price range now offer anti-lock braking systems, ride assist technology, and more refined ergonomics. The Bolt's harsh ride and outdated components make it a tough sell to anyone but the most loyal retro fans. Today, resale values hover between $4,000 and $5,000, and sales continue to slump. From bobber fails to retro flops, the next entry tried to be cool and failed daily life. Number 5. Triumph Bonneville Bobber. This motorcycle was built to turn heads, and in that department it succeeded. But when it comes to real-world riding, the experience doesn't live up to the image. It delivers 77 horsepower from a 1,200 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine with 78 pound-feet of torque. The starting price falls just above $13,400. Solo seating, a hardtail-style rear, and stripped-down styling make the Bonneville Bobber one of the most eye-catching retro machines on the market. Unfortunately, it is also one of the most impractical. The riding position is cramped, the range is limited, and there's no storage or passenger capability without expensive aftermarket modifications. Underneath the style lies basic suspension, no cruise control, and a bare-bones gauge setup. While the engine offers respectable torque, the overall comfort and daily usability fall short. Long rides quickly become tiring, and the lack of weather protection or windscreen means fatigue sets in fast. Used listings are increasingly common, with low-mileage units hovering between $8,000 and $9,000, often sitting unsold. The verdict: it looks like a dream, but rides like a compromise. From a niche British flop to a trike that nobody quite knows how to sell. Number 4. Can-Am Spyder F3. Positioned as a revolutionary bridge between motorcycles and cars, this reverse trike aimed to offer the thrill of riding with extra stability. It features 115 horsepower from a 1,330 cubic centimeters inline triple engine, delivering 96 pound-feet of torquey. Pricing starts near $19,499. The concept had potential, but the execution left riders scratching their heads. Unlike traditional motorcycles, the Spyder F3 does not lean, requiring a different riding technique entirely. Many experienced riders find it unengaging, while new riders often feel overwhelmed by its bulk and handling quirks. At over 900 pounds, it's not nimble by any standard. It also lacks agility in tight spaces, is difficult to park, and suffers from limited lane-splitting capability. Maintenance costs are steep, with complex systems and high dealer labor rates. Despite a loyal niche following, most riders view it as a novelty. Interesting to try, but not worth owning. Used models are now widely available under $10,000, even with low mileage. But if you thought three wheels was odd, wait until you meet the two-wheeler with no real audience. Number 3. Honda CB 1000R. This motorcycle was marketed as the perfect blend of retro cafe racer flair and modern naked bike aggression, but it never quite found its footing. It produces 143 horsepower from a 998 cubic centimeters inline. 4-engine with 75 pound-feet of torque. Pricing starts around $12,999. While the engine is solid and the chassis well-balanced, everything else about the CB 1000R feels confused. It is not quite aggressive enough to satisfy hardcore sport riders, not comfortable enough for commuters, and not distinctive enough to stand out in the retro segment. Even its styling, featuring brushed metal finishes and angular bodywork, struggles to define a clear identity. Despite its high price, it lacks modern features like cornering assistance or cruise control. The display is dated, the seat is stiff, and long rides reveal a bike that feels caught between design committees. Owners who bought in, hoping for a unique daily machine, are now posting listings in the $7,000 to $8,000 range with minimal interest. You've made it this far, but the next two bikes are legendary flops that broke more than just hearts. Still watching? That means you're not fooled by showroom flash. Hit subscribe. We're not done exposing the real risk behind these motorcycles. Number 2. Harley Davidson Street 500. This motorcycle was designed to welcome a new generation of riders into the Harley Davidson fold, but it missed nearly every mark. It delivers 34 horsepower from a 494 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled V-twin engine with 29 pound-feet of torque. At launch, it carried a starting price of $6,899. While the intent was clear, create an approachable, lightweight cruiser, the execution fell short. Riders immediately noticed poor fit and finish, including rattling controls, uneven welds, and plastic components that felt cheap. The riding experience was equally disappointing, with vague steering, a soft chassis, and underwhelming throttle response that felt disconnected from Harley's heritage. Worse still, the Street 500 lacked the very essence that makes Harley-Davidson motorcycles appealing: the visceral sound, the character, and the commanding presence on the road. It felt like a generic import rather than an American icon. Even new riders, the target demographic, quickly moved on to better options like the Rebel 500 or used Sportsters. Today, used listings often fall below $4,000 and still struggle to attract interest. The Street 500 wasn't just a weak motorcycle, it was a strategic misfire. And now, the #1 motorcycle that has collapsed in value so hard, it's become a cautionary tale. Number 1. MV Agusta Turismo Veloce. Few motorcycles ever looked this good while riding this poorly into the resale abyss. The Turismo Veloce was intended to blend Italian artistry with sport touring capability. It produces 110 horsepower from a 798 cubic centimeters inline-3 engine with 61 pound-feet of torque. The original price reached upwards of $20,000. At first glance, it dazzles. Elegant bodywork, single-sided swing arm, and electronically adjustable suspension. But beneath the surface lies a frustrating ownership experience. Riders routinely report erratic throttle response, confusing menu systems, and stiff ergonomics that undermine the touring promise. What really sunk the Turismo Veloce was MV Agusta's thin dealer network and poor parts availability. Service appointments often involved long delays, and replacement parts could take months to arrive. That kind of downtime is unacceptable on a touring machine. Even basic maintenance is expensive, and most independent mechanics avoid touching it altogether. Now, used models sell for less than $10,000 despite low mileage and premium components. For a bike that promised so much, the collapse in value has been dramatic and well-deserved. Some bikes just fade into the background. Others disappear for a reason. But one man's garage held secrets no one expected until the world saw what was inside. Go watch the story that stunned the motorcycle world. Like, comment, and subscribe if this one made you rethink everything.